All right, everybody. So we are here with part two of our criminal affairs update. So we had a part one we rolled out a couple weeks ago just with some general local stuff. Now we're back with Julia Parenteau. She is with Texas Realtors, and we're going to talk about legislative session, which is in full swing. So, and Adam, our lovely Adam, has a couple sessions under his belt of experience working at the Capitol. So we can imagine it's crazy, but probably crazier this year. So Julia, why don't we just chat briefly about what's happening right now?
Yeah, so this week there are a lot of big hearings happening. The legislature is, and these are things that are, not necessarily related to real estate, but there's some big items on different committee agendas, primarily in the House, but a couple in the Senate as well, and they are going to continue through tomorrow. So the legislature started so slowly. But things, after the winter storm and the legislature held their emergency hearings, and since then, everything really went from 0 to 1,000. And so it's been an interesting couple of weeks in which both the legislators and their staff, and then folks like us on the outside, suddenly find themselves thrown into the middle of legislative session without really having warmed up first. So everyone's a bit frazzled. Committees are meeting late into the night, starting very early in the morning. It feels like everybody has an 8 a.m. hearing these days. And every night this week and last week, I think I saw committees that were going till midnight. So it's a lot happening right now.
Yeah, so it sounds like it's long hours as per usual. And as you get into April and a little bit into May, it's just going to be like that until sine die, until it ends. But besides, I guess, the hours, what are some of the biggest challenges kind of overall in the Texas Capitol right now that they're trying to tackle? And I guess part two would be for realtors as well.
Sure. So from a policy perspective, the big items that are on the list right now are still, of course, all of the energy related discussions, and that there's broad spectrum of things that fall under that, from weatherization to all of the variable rate plans and many other things underneath that. So those are still going on, and they've had some hearings on some initial hearings on some big bills related to that, even just this week. They are also the other biggest thing this week that is important to realtors, but not necessarily an issue that is on the top of, one of the ones that we are working on as closely is elections. So both the House and the Senate are having hearings on election security and what Texas should be doing to structure our voting processes in the future. And so that's drawing a lot of crowds, up to and including our former Congressman Beto O'Rourke, who is here today for the House election hearing. Mm-hmm. So those are the big things that are going on. And of course, the energy one is really important to realtors and to your clients. But some of it is really nuanced and technical. And so those we're not as engaged in all of those bills. Now, some of them certainly we are. Anything that we can talk about that relates to, the reliable and affordable and stable energy grid is something that really matters to property owners and buyers, current and future residents. So we're paying attention to those. We are expecting that some of the other real estate related bills, some that relate to property taxes, some that relate to homeowners associations, rental tenancies, those kinds of things, that we're going to see more hearings on those bills in the next couple of weeks. But most of those bills have not come up for hearings yet. They're about to get here.
Gotcha. And I know that, we would normally load up a giant bus full of people and go to the Capitol. And so I know that there's, still some COVID procedures, and that's why our Hill visits are virtual. So how has that changed kind of the landscape of how things are working right now, as far as the way that things are different now versus a normal session?
There's a lot. Sorry about that. Yes, there are a lot fewer people in the Capitol right now. So In general, while the Capitol is open and anyone can come, they are discouraging large group events. You know, the 3,000 realtors coming all at once is something that they are really hoping to avoid. The Senate still is requiring a negative COVID test before you can enter their hearing rooms or the Senate gallery. The House is not requiring it, but some offices might be. So it's up to each individual legislator, both on the House and the Senate side, how they're handling their offices. And so it varies all the way from our office is wide open, please walk in, to our people are still working from home, call or email only. And so that has really changed just the way that you might wander around the halls and have conversations about, you know, about bills, about priority issues. And that's why Realtor Day at the Texas Capitol has become Realtor Days, Realtor Month, and is rolling out from March 15th all the way through April 9th with individual Zoom meetings with all 181 legislators. And so most the folks in your area have not, I think, for the most part, been on the schedule yet, but they're coming up in the next 2 weeks. And so, but we have had just about 2 weeks of those meetings already, and they're actually going very well. And despite that, our members unfortunately are missing out of the excitement of being in the building, and I'm glancing over there because I can see the dome out my window. They're missing the excitement of being in the building. They are still being able to have these meetings with their legislators, with their staff, and have a one-on-one conversation about priority issues. And they've been going very well, and so we're excited for y'all to be able to experience that.
Yeah,
That's awesome. And as we get more information, of course, we'll send it out to our members. So what's the biggest thing that you think is going to come up in the next 2 weeks that you're like jazzed about from policy perspective?
Well, I think that pretty soon we are going to see some hearings I mentioned on homeowners associations. So with our Realtor Days meetings, there are 5 subjects that are kind of on the priority talking points. That includes broadband access, which of course I think everyone's familiar with. We're having this meeting on Zoom. We all know how important it is. There's some priority legislation in both the House and the Senate that have already been moving on that. Everybody knows it's a problem and they want to sort it out. But we are also talking about some other things, and one of them is homeowners associations and looking at some reforms to our statutes that govern property owners associations to make sure that the balance tips a little bit closer to property owners versus the associations, where it might kind of be skewed right now. And so there's actually quite a few bills that are filed this year related to property owners associations, but we are working on one in particular that's being carried by Chairman Chris Turner in the House and Chairman Brian Hughes in the Senate. And these bills are, really expansive changes that would provide some due process for people who live in property owners associations. If they want to make appeals, it would provide them better protection on credit reporting. And also eliminate some potential conflicts of interest in the governance and HOAs. So a lot of good things like that, working on putting some limits on some of the fees that can be charged, all sorts of things. And so we're excited that those bills might be coming up for a hearing here in the next couple of weeks. And that's where my attention really is.
That's awesome. That's great. Well, we really appreciate your time. I know that you run back and forth, probably literally, to the Capitol and the Texas Realtors building multiple times a day. So we're very glad that we were able to catch you in the midst of all of that. And we appreciate the work that you do with Texas Realtors. And hopefully maybe in a couple weeks or a month, we can check in again and just be like, okay, now where are we? Because I know it's a ever moving target. So we just appreciate the time that you spent with us on this.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me. I would love to check back in and give you guys an update. As Adam said, things start to move really fast, and over the long hours, so a bill might change 6 times in one day. And so there's always going to be things to update you on. And we want to make sure that your members have the best and most up-to-date information so that they can advocate for these priority issues as well.
Yep.
Awesome.
Next month or 5 weeks is going to be crazy, crazy, crazy. So any snippet we can get out of you, we really appreciate it. Our members do as well.
Thank you for
Great.
having me.
Well, thanks, Julia.